Welcome to English Listening Practice. This video is designed for learners of all levels. Listen carefully and try to understand the story. Let's begin. When I moved to Ghent for a new job, I promised myself I would stop living like a temporary guest. I joined a local volunteer group that organized cultural events, partly to meet people and partly to prove I could belong somewhere without needing a reason. Our biggest project was a weekend festival in an old textile warehouse by the canal. The space smelled faintly of dust and machine oil, but when the lights were on, it felt like a small city inside a building. Music in one corner, workshops in another, food stalls along the walls. I was put in charge of coordinating the schedule, which sounded manageable until I realized it meant negotiating between artists who all believed their performance was the heart of the event. The group's unofficial leader was Lotte, a confident woman with quick eyes and a laugh that could either invite you in or shut you out. She worked in communications during the day, and she spoke in neat sentences, as if everything had already been edited in her mind. I liked her immediately, though I couldn't tell if she liked me or simply approved of efficiency. 2 weeks before the festival, Lotte announced we had a new sponsor, Van Eos Developments, a company known for renovating historic buildings. The money would pay for extra security and better sound equipment. Most people nodded. A few clapped. Only one person didn't. Miro, a graphic designer who made our posters, leaned back in his chair and said, "Isn't that the same company that pushed people out of the docks district last year?" Lotte's smile held, but something tightened around it. "They're supporting art," she replied. "We're not endorsing every decision they've ever made." Miro didn't argue then, but the room's mood shifted. It was the first time I understood that volunteering wasn't automatically pure. People brought their values with them, and sometimes those values collided. After the meeting, I stayed behind to sort the schedule spreadsheet. Lotte hovered near the door, as if she wanted to leave but couldn't. "You're doing great," she said. "I know it's a lot." "Thanks," I answered, and then, because I wanted to sound thoughtful rather than eager, I added, "The sponsor issue. Do you think it'll blow over?" She hesitated, which surprised me. "It will if we keep the focus on the artists," she said finally. "People forget faster than they admit." On my way home, the canal was dark and still, reflecting the streetlights like a long chain of coins. I tried to tell myself Lotte was simply being practical, yet her words stayed with me, not because they were cruel, but because they were familiar. I had used that logic before. If no one complains loudly enough, the problem is manageable. The first real disaster arrived. Someone posted a screenshot online of an internal email that showed Van Eost's sponsorship wasn't just support. It came with conditions. In exchange for the money, their logo had to be displayed at the entrance, and one of their representatives would give a short welcome speech on opening night. The post spread quickly. Under it, people wrote angry comments about art being used as a polite mask for business interests. A few artists messaged us, asking if they should withdraw. Others were quieter, which was worse. Silence felt like a door closing. At our emergency meeting, Miro looked directly at Lotte. "So," he said, "who decided to keep this secret?" Lotte didn't deny it. "It wasn't a secret," she said, though her voice was sharper than usual. "It was a negotiation. Negotiations aren't finished until they're finished." "And yet someone finished them," Miro replied, "and someone wrote that email." Everyone started talking at once. My phone buzzed with notifications from the festival's social media account, and I felt the strange pressure of being responsible for something that had suddenly become bigger than our warehouse. Then Lotte's gaze flicked toward me, only for a second. I noticed because it made my stomach drop. I remembered the moment, 3 days earlier, when she had asked me to forward the sponsor email chain to the sound technician. "Just the practical parts," she'd said, "but send the full thread in case he needs context." I had sent it from my laptop in a rush, then left for lunch. In our shared workspace, the screen had stayed open longer than it should have. I had even seen a volunteer from another team walking past my desk, glancing down as if looking for a charger. Now, sitting in the noisy room, I realized I couldn't be sure where the leak came from. It could have been anyone. But I also knew my carelessness had created the opportunity. Lotte ended the meeting with a decision that sounded decisive without being comforting. "We'll publish a statement," she said. "We'll clarify that the sponsor has no influence on the program. And we keep going." Afterward, she pulled me aside. Her voice softened, which somehow made it harder. You didn't forward anything to anyone outside the team, right? No, I said. It was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. I hadn't forwarded it, but I had left it exposed. She studied my face, as if reading a draft with missing lines. This could destroy the festival, she said quietly, and it could destroy the group. Please, if you know anything. I wanted to protect her. I also wanted to protect myself. There's a particular fear that comes with being new in a city. You worry that one mistake will confirm you never belonged in the first place. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept imagining opening night, the warehouse full of people, the sound equipment humming, and then, a protest at the door. I also imagined Miro's disappointed expression, not because he would be angry, but because he would be right. The next morning, I asked Lotte to meet me at a small cafe near the station. She arrived wearing the same calm as always, but her fingers kept tapping her cup. I think it might have been my fault, I said, before I could lose courage. I sent the email chain like you asked, and I left my laptop open afterward. Someone could have seen it. I don't know if that's how it happened, but I created the chance. For a moment, her face went still, as if she'd stepped outside herself to check what was happening. Then she exhaled, slow and controlled. Why didn't you say this yesterday? She asked. Because I didn't want to be the reason everything collapses, I admitted. But hiding it feels worse. She looked down at the table, then back up. I asked you for the full thread, she said. That was my decision, and I should have been clearer about risk, but you should have locked your screen. I know. Outside, trains moved in and out with a smooth impatience. People in coats walked past the window, busy with lives that had nothing to do with our warehouse and its fragile festival. Lotte's voice became more human, less polished. I'm scared, she said, not just of losing the event, of being the person who sells out without noticing. I didn't expect that honesty, and it shifted something between us. Then let's not be that person, I said. We can be transparent, not just in a statement, in how we handle the sponsor. We spent an hour rewriting our plan. Instead of pretending the conditions didn't matter, we would explain them openly, and we would offer alternatives. The sponsor could keep their logo, but no speech. Or they could speak, but only in a panel with community representatives, including someone from the docks district. If they refused, we would return part of the funding and scale down. When we presented the proposal to the group, it didn't magically fix everything. Miro was still furious, and some artists still hesitated. But the argument changed shape. People stopped guessing what we were hiding, and started discussing what we were willing to accept. 3 days later, Van Aelst agreed to drop the opening speech. Their representative sounded annoyed on the phone, but he agreed. The money stayed, the logo stayed, and the festival stayed ours. Imperfect, compromised, but no longer pretending to be spotless. On opening night, I stood by the entrance and watched people arrive. Some glanced at the sponsor banner and frowned. Others walked past it, without seeing it at all. Inside, a singer's voice rose into the rafters, warm and clear, and the warehouse felt alive, in a way that didn't depend on anyone's approval. Lotte came to stand next to me. You did the right thing, she said, not as praise, but as a fact she needed to say out loud. I nodded, listening to the music and the overlapping conversations. It wasn't the kind of belonging that arrives quietly and stays forever. It was messier than that, built from choices, repaired by honesty, and held together by the simple decision to stay present when leaving would be easier. Thank you for listening and practicing English with us. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. See you in the next video.